The need for UN reform. After the end of World War II, it was recognized that a new collective agreement that would make it impossible or minimize large military conflicts is necessary. The logical outcome of such an agreement was the emergence of the United Nations, or UN for short. The charter of the organization was signed in June 1945 with four main goals. First, maintaining peace on the planet. Second, development of friendly relations between countries. Third, joint action to improve the living conditions of the poor, combat hunger and disease, eradicate illiteracy and promote respect for human rights and freedom. Fourth, help countries achieve these goals. The UN Charter is an instrument of international law, and UN member states are legally bound by it. The UN Charter is an instrument of international law, and UN member states are legally bound by it. In 1973, the new Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, abbreviated as the OSCE, emerged. The OSCE is authorized to consider and resolve all security issues in Europe, as well as economic and environmental problems and issues for humanitarian cooperation, including human rights and freedom. In fact, there is a duplication of UN functions, with the difference that OSCE decisions are not legally, but politically binding. Let us consider how the UN implements one of its main functions, specifically maintaining peace on the planet, in practice. This is done through peacekeeping operation, that is, deploying peacekeeping contingents into territories affected by military conflicts. Since 1948, UN peacekeepers have taken part in more than 70 operations around the world. However, not all armed conflicts became the object of the peacekeeping activities. The UN did not deploy peacekeeping to Nagorno-Karabakh, Abkhazia, South Ossetia, Transnistria, Chechnya and Ukraine. Those conflicts have one thing in common: participation of the armed forces in the Russian Federation, either officially or under the guise of peacekeepers. The reason for the non-participation of the UN peacekeeping forces lie in the specifics of decision-making by this organization. At present, the main deliberative, policy-making and representative body of the UN is its General Assembly. Each state that pays their contribution has one vote. The amount of the contribution depends on the level of economic development of the country. For example, in 2021, Ukraine paid more than $1.5 million, which amounted to approximately 0.05% of the UN regular budget. The share of Russia was 2.4%. In practice, the decisions of the General Assembly are more of a recommendatory nature. And final decision, which, for example, establish sanctions against violating states, deploy peacekeeping forces, conflict zones, or organize post-conflict settlement, are made by another body, the UN Security Council. Those decisions are binding for every country. The Security Council consists of 5 permanent and 10 non-permanent members. Permanent members include the United Kingdom, China, Russia, the United States and France. Any one of these countries can block the decision of the Security Council at their own discretion by imposing the veto. Over the past 8 years, the UN has considered the possibility of creating a demilitarized zone in the Donbass and deploying a peacekeeper force there 11 times, but each time this decision was vetoed by Russia. The absurdity of the situation is that due to the outdated norms of the UN statute, the aggressor can give itself permission to continue the aggression, with the entire world community forced to watch from the sidelines. This loophole is successfully used by Russia, which has learned perfectly to manipulate the United Nations. The situation in the field of international law is hardly any better. Another UN body, the International Court of Justice in The Hague, has not yet completed its consideration of the case of the destruction of the Malaysian Airlines MH17, and it's unlikely to do so before 2023, although the plane was shut down 8 years ago. 8 years is too long. In the past 8 years, many witnesses and suspects died or were physically destroyed. Such rate of decision-making goes beyond common sense, and the verdict itself has lost much of its relevance now. The whole world has seriously changed since 1945. It was hard to imagine that one of the countries of the anti-Hitler coalition would unleash a major war in Europe, but this is a reality we face. The UN decision-making process remains somewhere in the middle of the last century. The organization is highly bureaucratic and its regulations are outdated. In its current form, the UN is unable to perform its primary task of maintaining peace on a planet, and its activities oftentimes do more harm than good. This requires immediate reforms or the creation in a more efficient organization that will meet the goals and objectives of the world today.